my guest on not even a virtual chair, a real chair here in the flesh. And, you know, we have these Hollywood lights going too, right? I turned these off. It was scary. I know, right?
It's pretty professional.
When I was looking at the camera when we were coming in, the reason I turned these lights on, you look good on camera. I very shadowed. I noticed the head, kind of the bald head was very shadowed. But you look great. My guest is Adam Friday Woods here on the Virtual Couch Podcast. And Adam, I want to jump right into, you go by Woody.
I do.
Okay.
Woody.
Does anybody call you Adam?
So one person calls me Adam. That's it. In fact, most people don't know my real name.
Okay.
Yeah. I introduce myself most times as Woody Woods, unless I'm in some place that I actually needs my name, like a bank.
Okay.
I'm Adam Woods.
And you're Adam. And does that still kind of throw you off?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, I respond to Adam pretty well, but there are very few people that know me by my first name.
Okay, and I have to ask them. I mean, obviously, I love the origin of names. I told the story on the podcast once where I went by Scooter for about a week in third grade.
Nice.
Didn't quite stick. But when did you go with Woody? And I want to know, is there something around Friday?
So my name is Adam Friday Woods, which is pretty uncommon. The Friday middle name. That was my mom's Hawaiian.
Okay.
My dad's just a bald white dude. But,
oh, is he? Okay.
But my mom's father's name was Friday Emma.
Wow.
Yeah, he died in the Korean War. He was a soldier. He was awesome. My mom never got to meet him. She was a baby when he died. But he's kind of a hero. And so it was pretty much an honor to get that name, Friday. Yeah. That Friday name. And I named one of my sons. I have two sons, 2 girls, 2 boys. And I got Jack Friday Woods. Sounds like an Agent Jack Friday.
Exactly. That's an awesome name. I would hire that guy.
So Adam Friday Woods is pretty unique. And I'm pretty proud of that middle name. But I go by Woody. My mom had 4 sons. You know, there's 5 kids, 4 boys and a girl. And all of the boys were called Woody when they were young.
Really?
But I was the baby. I was the youngest of the family, and Woody is stuck.
Okay.
That's where that comes from. And so most people don't even know my first name.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Friday thing, you don't even, that doesn't come out very often.
So it does. People want to know. They're like, well, they look at my ID. Who's this Adam Friday Woods guy?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh no, that's Woody.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And they want to know. It's always a conversational starter. So you know, when I became a writer, I said, okay, I'll just use Adam Friday Woods.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty proud of that name. And so I do want people to.
Perfect. All right. And speaking of writing, Woody is here to talk about a book, Conquer Your Dragons, right? Or Conquering Your Dragons.
Conquer Your Dragons.
Conquer Your Dragons. All right. And we're gonna do deep dive on the book. But first, I want to kind of hear a little bit more about you. So, where'd you grow up? Tell me about your family. I mean, you got to give a little bit about your backstory. But married, kids.
Yes, I've been married for 15 years, going on 16 years. We have 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls. My oldest is 14. My youngest is 6, going into 1st grade this coming year. My wife's she's a teacher, but luckily she's been able to stay home, you know, with our kids. But now that our youngest is going into 1st grade this fall, she's going back into teaching, so she's super excited.
What does she teach?
She's going to teach 1st grade. We're at a Waldorf charter school here, in California. I'm from Northern California, the Sacramento area, and we really fell in love with this style of education. And so my wife, ever since our kids have been going to school for the last 9 years, you know, she said, I want to do that.
Okay.
And so we're actually going to move out of state to Salt Lake.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah, this coming fall. And she found a Waldorf school the first Waldorf school that opened up, or Waldorf charter school that opened up in Salt Lake 2 years ago. And so she's going to go teach there this fall. So we're pretty excited. She's super excited about that.
And I'm fascinated by your day job, right? So you're writing and you sing, you speak, and you're getting a lot of speaking gigs, and we're going to talk about that more too.
Yeah.
But can I just, when we were setting up and I asked you what you do for your day job, you said?
So I'm an ATM guy.
Okay. Yeah. And I did the classic thing where I'm like, oh man, that's cool. And I thought, I don't know what that means.
Right.
And so vulnerability here, ATM, and I assumed it was the machines, but I thought, I don't know, alcohol, tobacco, and mischief. I wasn't quite sure.
Exactly right. Okay. That's a good point. No, so yeah, I run an ATM company. And so I've been in the ATM business for the last 10 years. I have a sales and marketing background. That's where I come from. Lots of sales, lots of different marketing. And then I went into management. And so, you know.
But ATM, we're talking cash machines.
We're talking cash machines. These are, you know, you go put your card in and pull out $20. Yeah.
So I told Woody, I have to ask, you know, what are the main questions you get and how often, because how often you meet somebody, well, you are the person. So how often do the rest of my listeners meet somebody that is in the world of the ATM machines? Because I get scared. I see on TV, are they spoofing my cards, or I see those ones where the bank robbers put something around it and drive off with some, you know, the ATM dragging on the ground. So what are the number one questions?
So the number one question is, do those things get stolen?
Okay.
And the answer is yes,
wow.
they do.
Okay.
Yeah, we used to have a few stolen every year. Yeah. You know, and we have a bunch that, I mean, we sell ATM machines, we service them for other people, you know, for other companies, but we also own, you know, that our company owns. And we've had a few stolen. And what you're saying about a card being dragged off. I mean, one time, you know, we got a call that an ATM got stolen. We're like, okay, so we went down, police were there. But what had happened is it was sitting kind of by the front door in a liquor store.
Okay.
And they ripped open the doors, wrapped a chain around the ATM and took off.
Okay.
But the ATM got wedged inside kind of the door frame and the chain came off. But the truck just kept driving away. It was hilarious.
So there was the ATM machine.
And then then we saw on the camera, they come back after 5 minutes, you know, the sirens blaring, you know, just looking around, and they're like, you could just see working in their heads. Do we get it? Do we wait? Do we get it? Do we wait? And then they just took off. It was,
okay,
you know,
they didn't get it.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. You know, all that hard work. Sorry, guys. And they didn't get any money for it.
Yeah. Okay, so my ADD brain just kicked in with a million different questions. I'll lightning round, and we'll get to
Let's do it. Let's do it.
So, do they? I almost feel like maybe you don't want to talk about this, but do they keep? Is there a ton of money in there? I mean,
you know, so most people would be surprised on how little money are in ATM.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because of this reason.
Yeah.
I mean, the money's insured and stuff like that, but no one wants it to get ripped off.
Yeah.
And so we've had machines stolen, and I could tell that those guys worked really hard. They're really hard to break into.
Oh, imagine.
I mean, you could get to the machine, and then you're going to have hours and hours of just trying to get into the safe.
Okay.
And then they got like $800. You know what I mean? It's just hilarious to me that it's just not worth it.
Okay.
You know, for these guys.
So I won't even ask you specifics then. So lightning round 2, how often do people have to then come add money?
So it depends on the machine. I mean, you know, we're really good at figuring it out, but we have an armored service to do it, you know, and so they, you know, whatever. Every once in a while.
Do you have any facts in your head of like in a very busy ATM can dispense X amount in a given day?
Yeah, so we know there's really good reporting on this,
okay.
And so everything's monitored online now, and I mean there's really gets.
So do you have a number that you would ever share? Like it blows my mind that
yeah, and we're a smaller company.
Yeah.
And I know exactly how much money gets dispensed through those things every year, and it's pretty cool.
Okay. I hear you. That's because but now, you know, I wonder if listeners are thinking either Woody's sitting there and he's like, I can't tell these guys that $1 million cash goes out, or he's saying, Tony, there are literally hundreds of dollars that leave these machines every day. But we'll just gotta leave it at
we're
that.
talking tens of dollars.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Right. Very exciting. Okay. I think that maybe this is me or total irrational thought, but I worry often that it's going to dispense the wrong amount.
Yeah.
How often does that happen?
Never. Yeah.
Okay.
So the only time you might have a problem with an ATM, so if, let's say you didn't get all your money out of an ATM machine, it gets reversed right back almost immediately into your account. Like the account, I mean, there are really stringent rules against stuff like this.
Yeah.
The only time you might have a problem is if like the power shut off in the middle of a dispense.
And
then you call the company and we come out and solve the problem for you.
Okay. Has there ever been a situation where I love when I'll kind of slowly count the 20s? I'm like, is there an extra one there?
Never happened.
Never. Dang it. Okay.
Although the bank gave me hundreds one time, you know. I went to get some 20s or something.
So we're going into the bank.
Into the bank. And there was, you know, usually we have an armored car service, but every once in a while, we got $1,000 and there was 2 $100 bills in there. Okay. And that would have been great for the person who got that, you know, paid $20 and got $100. So.
Okay.
But
that really gets stuck. Does that happen very often?
Pretty rare. Yeah. I mean, the most common mistake is that you might get a jammed bill in a machine.
Okay.
But once again, that money's reversed. So,
okay. All right. We got to get to your book. But I had 8. I mean, there's so many other things.
You know, most people don't know anybody who's who's in the ATM business, but there's a lot of people.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about the book, Conquer Your Dragons. Yeah, so, and I read the whole book. It's really good. The illustrations are really, I'm not gonna lie. I looked and I thought, man, if Woody writes and draws, then this is incredible.
It's done. I'm a superstar.
Exactly.
You know, my buddy Darren, who's an artist, we've collaborated on several other projects together, and I knew this was going to be for him. And once I wrote the book, I said, Darren, do you want any of this? You know?
Yeah.
And he always gives me. I mean, he's normally pretty pricey. You've seen the illustrations; they're excellent. Really. Yeah. And he said, no, I'll do a favor for you. And, you know, he gave me a really good price. And I mean, the illustrations are awesome.
Okay.
If you like good art,
yeah,
I mean, they're mind blowing.
So let's talk about it. Can you go for a little bit? You drive. So talk about what led to the book, what the book's about, and what you're hoping to accomplish.
You know, I'm in the ATM business and I've been in sales and marketing, and and I was telling you earlier today, it's great. I'm good at it.
Yeah.
But it's not fulfilling.
Okay.
And I've always wanted to be an English major. And I took so many writing classes early on. And I continued to write, just went into business, and I continued to write. And that's been more of a passion for me. And so I've written a lot of stuff and published very little of these things. I mean, I have a whole portfolio of things that are written. I don't even know if they're any good.
Okay.
But once I started having kids, I started to write towards my kids.
Okay.
Like all the stories are just, right now I'm in this phase of, you know, I'm working on a book called a series called The Adventures of the Surfing Ninja, right? Okay. And it's for my 9-year-old,
yeah,
who's in this process of just learning to become a good reader.
Yeah.
And so all the books are based towards him. I wrote Dragons. I wrote it in verse. It's in rhyme, done in rhyme.
Can I just say, I love that. I mean, I was never one that, and I've had clients that literally are published poets, and I will read things. I'm to the point now where I can get it, and I really appreciate it. But man, nothing feels better than just a good rhyming.
So my favorite books to read to my kids were Dr. Seuss books.
Yeah, that's what
I love
too.
them.
Okay.
And I thought this will be fun. And it was a story, and I'm teaching principles in the story that I wanted my kids to know.
Yeah. Like
if I were to die right now, I wanted to leave something behind for them.
Okay.
That they could just always have. And that's where Dragons came from. And when I wrote it, I call it freestyle. I didn't know what I just got up at 6 one morning and just started writing.
Okay.
And this concept started to develop, and I said, okay, I'll do something in rhyme, and I'm not going to write it in prose. Like most of the time, we write in prose. And I said, okay, I'll write it in rhyme and see what happens. And something developed and it started, and I got this idea, and then over a certain period of time, I wrote this book, Conquer Your Dragons, that I love, and I had to edit it, and I said, okay, I have something here. I'm going to publish this.
Okay. What was the time frame from when you finished it and said I have something to the point where you are now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I wrote this back in 2016.
Okay.
And I think maybe I started early March 2016. And I finally had gotten the book edited sometime later that year. I mean, so it was probably by the fall that I had to edit it. But I mean, you got to understand, I just don't sit there and write one work.
Yeah.
I get bored. And so I said, okay, so I'll start writing something. Then I'll change kind of to something like that, if how I'm feeling that day. And so, yeah, I don't know. It didn't take me long to write the book. It's a children's story, so it's not very long.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of number of pages.
Well, and I gotta say, I've had a couple other authors on, and I'll feel this pressure to have to devour the book. And so a couple days ago, I thought, man, I owe Woody. I would listen to a couple of podcasts with you, gone through your website, and I thought, I gotta find time to read this book. And
5 minutes in, you're done.
Yeah, it was great. So
you know, I find that oftentimes the simplest things, like from children's stories or from just simple things, you learn these amazing principles, right? And that's what I was trying to teach my kids, just through an entertaining, fun story, great illustrations that has a powerful message.
Well, that's why I want to get to that message, because I was the therapist in me. I feel like there's so much of that's about what do you do with anxiety, or I mean, so, but I want to hear where you came from, or what are the dragons, and talk about the story and the principles.
Yeah, so Conquer Your Dragons is about a boy who falls asleep one night and has a dream, and in this dream he encounters this large and terrifying dragon. Not the sweet, cuddly dragon you read about in other stories.
Tales, there was
right? You know, my kids love all these dragon movies and stuff, and they're great.
Yeah.
But this was the scary dragon. This was the mean dragon. And so, in this dream, this dragon impedes this boy's path and intimidates him. It scares him. It threatens to kill him, right? And he's freaked out.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes to the conclusion that there's only one thing he can do: put on his armor and fight the dragon.
Okay.
So he grabs a shielded sword and he charges it head on, and he fights it. Great it's duel's intense, but when he wakes up, he begins to figure out what the dragon represents in his life.
Okay.
It represents a lot of things: adversity, opposition, or trials, or weaknesses, or failures. It could be very specific things, like my mom, spindle cell sarcoma cancer she has right now, right? We just found out a couple months ago, or a month ago. No. And this is the dragon that she's facing. Yeah. So all of us face dragons, and we've all faced them, and we will continue to face them. It's essentially, the dragon represents any obstacle or challenge that prevents us from where we want to be or need to be, or perhaps even from where we should be. Mm. And so that's the dragon. And it's a very powerful message, but done in a way that, the children will understand the story, but the story will mean something to them each time you read it, something different.
Gotcha.
Just in the challenges that they're facing. Our kids they face some serious stuff. You remember what it's like growing up, and it's probably a lot harder now, right? Yeah. Things are different. But there's bullying and peer pressures. Maybe their parents have gone through a divorce. That's a tough thing. I had to go through that when I was 8, right? Or blending families.
Mm.
Like my dad remarried, and we had 5 kids already, and then my stepmom had 4 kids, and then they had 2 more together. It was like mine, yours, and ours kind of thing.
Sure.
And our family grew, and so that was like a big dragon I had to face, and it was tough, man.
Because you can sit back, you can withdraw, or you're saying your message is let's figure out how to charge.
The message is to figure out how to beat it.
Yeah.
And every dragon, if we look at it, is beatable.
Yeah.
And you're a therapist, and you help people deal with their dragons all the time.
I like it. What you just said there did make me think of, because and sometimes maybe I am thinking through the lens of a client who might feel powerless, or who might, instead of fight or flight, they're in freeze mode when they come across their dragon. And I like what you just said there. Every dragon does have a way to beat it, and I feel like sometimes my job is to figure out, what are the weaknesses in this dragon, or what is somebody's individual experiences that have led up to this fight, and what are their they might not be good with a sword, but they might be good with a rock. I don't know. I like where you're going with this.
Yeah, and everything is symbolic. It represents like, what are your tools, right? In the story, his tools are his armor, right? He's got armor, he's got a shield, he's got a sword, but we have a lot of tools for us depending on what the dragon is. And I'll give you an example. So this is hilarious, but maybe as a therapist you can relate to this with people that come in. So I'm 38 now, so maybe 3 or 4 years ago, maybe around 35, I was watching a TV show, and it was about mental illnesses, and I was really interested. I don't know much about them, right? And I wanted to know more. I was just being curious, and I was watching it, and they were describing the effects of this mental illness, like this deep pit, this anxiety, this emptiness, right? This darkness inside them. They were talking about depression. Yeah. And I cannot believe this. And I'm looking at my wife, and she's like, "What?" And I go, "Honey, I've experienced this." Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And she's like, "What are you talking about?" I go, "I've never shared this with anyone." Okay. No one. Not my parents, my best friend, not you, obviously. And we've been married 12 years at the time, right? And she said, "Well, what?" And I said, "Well, when I was in high school, my freshman year of high school, I had this." Wow. I just didn't know what it was. Yeah. Okay. I had no idea. Yeah. I just felt it, and I hated it. Yeah. Right? Yeah. But then I look back on my life, and it was like very therapeutic. I was like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. Exactly. What was going on in my life at the time? Parents divorced, and there was a bunch of stuff in my personal life. And I go, I can see how someone might get depressed. Yeah. And so I didn't know what I was going through, and I should have went to my parents, but I didn't. And but there were a lot of tools available to me at the time, even. Yeah. Right. And one of those tools is music. Okay. And I'm telling you, I hated how I felt. I didn't know why I was feeling that way, but music, there was something about some certain music that just really helped lift my spirits. So these are tools. Okay. Well, and so I remember this time, if we're interactive here, that I felt like I didn't want to do anything, but I didn't want to not do anything. I didn't want to go anywhere, but I didn't want to stay home. All of these things that I just felt, I just didn't want to do anything. And I shared that with a friend, and he was a pharmaceutical sales rep who happened to rep antidepressants. He said, "You're depressed, my friend." I'm like, "Oh, no, not me. I mean, I got things figured out, and that was a time where I kind of I was already running, but then that's when I kind of amped up to, more running. So I love how, you found music. I maybe went to running. Some people, they don't even have somebody that they can open up to about this, or they don't see the show on mental illness, or they don't have a parent or somebody that supports them. So they might not have be able to find those tools. Yeah. What did you do with music though? Were you a natural at that? No. So no. So here's what's interesting. I listened to a song. I found an album called by Depeche Mode, and I'm a '90s child, like in my age range. But I have 4 older siblings who grew up in the '80s. Okay. So I grew up with Depeche Mode concert. Okay. So I've been to a Depeche Mode concert. All right. But they had this album called Speak and Spell, and there were 2 songs on there that changed my life. Okay. And I'm forever grateful, and I have no idea why. And maybe you can better help me figure this out. But there were 2 songs, and once I heard these songs, for whatever reason, something clicked in my brain. I felt relief. That I go, oh, well, I can beat this. What were the songs? Dreaming of Me and New Life. Okay. Where those were their called. And so you Depeche Mode fans. Right? That's right. I don't know what it was about their songs. Okay. And when I listened to them, kind of cheesy. Right? Yeah. That's what when if you go back, I tried sharing Depeche Mode and New Order, so these guys with my kids a year ago. Yeah. And so then it might be fun. But whatever it was about that song, there was almost instant relief. And I developed OCD pretty bad.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, and it's hilarious now, and my wife can see it now. She's like, oh, yeah, I can kind of see that. But I got it pretty much under control. Maybe I need to come talk to you. A little more.
Yeah.
But it was just this really strange time. But exercise helped.
Okay.
Right. I was thankfully I played football and I ran track, and I was very active, and I loved surfing and snowboarding and stuff like that.
Yeah. And
so that was a good release for me. That helped, like kind of like what running does for you. Yeah. And so that was another tool that I helped. But after I wrote the book, I know a bunch of motivational speakers, inspirational speakers, and one who's now my mentor, he just said, I think you need to present this.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I think kids can use this message.
What were your first thoughts when you heard that?
And I said, I don't have a great story.
Yeah.
I'm not.
We're joking.
I'm not Tony Robbins.
I'm not
Les
Everest. You haven't done those things.
No Everest. I don't have this amazing survival story or anything like that, because you don't need it. I'm telling you, people need to hear the story. Mm. And so I developed a program, and one of the things that I tell kids that I teach them is to there are 4 steps that you can take, right, okay, to help with this. You got to recognize the dragon for what it is. Okay. Sometimes you don't even know what you're going through, but you know how you're feeling, like kind of how I experienced that with depression. But then you need to gather your tools, and we have so many tools available to us. And I talk to them about music, and I play them songs, to kind of, and I tell them different stories about how music has helped me and it's helped other people. But then the number one thing I tell them to do is get support. Okay, get help, and there's always someone you can talk to. Yeah. I didn't feel like there was anybody I could talk to. Yeah. But I could have walked down the hall with my parents, and they would have known exactly how to help me, or to go. They would have known how to guide me.
And you're presenting this message a lot to schools. So
to schools, yeah.
I love that. So you're saying teachers, counselors, parents, religious leaders.
Exactly all I'm saying.
Okay.
But support groups. There's principals, there's parents, there's relatives. Depending on what the dragon is, there's attorneys and police officers.
That's good.
Right?
Yeah.
There's all sorts of medical professionals. Mental health professionals, whatever you're going, there's support groups, there's support forums. Just get the support, and I promise you there is always someone that you can turn to, okay, and talk to. So we're recognizing, we're gathering our tools, we're getting a support team around us. Yeah, and then create a plan. Okay. Right? I took this from the story of David and Goliath. Anybody went to Sunday school, yeah, right? They know the story. It's like the ultimate underdog story, yeah, right? This gigantic beast of a man, yeah, 9 feet tall, and this boy, right? And there's no way this boy is supposed to win this fight, right? But he recognizes this dragon of Goliath that he sees, and he gathers his tools. But his tools weren't the armor, right? No. Saul's trying to put the armor on him. That's not going to work for him. Yeah. His tool was a bow staff, a sling, and 5 smooth stones. Yeah. That was his tools. And what's interesting about the story is that, when Goliath comes to meet him, the story says he didn't turn and cower and run. He faced him head on and charged him, right? It's a really cool story. Yeah. And then I have to tell you, I did early morning, seminary. I taught that for a while, and I was fascinated that there are people that have gone deep on that story. And there was one that where there was an article I read where they were talking about, well, obviously Goliath had, and it named the medical condition, which is why he was how he was. And it was hilarious about just breaking all that down, and that David must have, in all of his, he couldn't have just gone out there and hit Goliath between the eyes just randomly. Yeah. He had put in all his time and effort, and he knew. People burn a lot of calories kind of researching that one. And more power to him. I know, I love it. Yeah. See, David recognizes the problem. Mm. He gathers his tools, and I teach him to create a plan. Okay. Your plan doesn't have to be overly, complicated. It doesn't have to be huge in this gigantic business plan, whatever it is, whatever the dragon is. My plan when I was suffering depression as a freshman in high school, should have been, when my parents get home from work, I'm going to walk down the hall and talk to them. Yeah. That should have been my plan. Okay. And that's a great plan. When I teach kids, you don't have to have these great plans. But the most important part of your plan is you need to change the plan, adjust the plan as needed. Right? I was hoping we were going to get to that. Yeah, right? Because a lot of people will say, I'm going to do this. And then when I run into my first wall, then I say, well, that doesn't work, and I'm a horrible person, and there's nothing. Exactly. Yeah. Right? And I explained it to them is oftentimes we want to write our plans, we want to chisel it in stone. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And then when it fails, it completely breaks apart. We just want to break it because we failed. And then, see, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And nothing will ever change, and I'm destined for
this dragon just running right through me.
Right.
Okay.
And I teach them the idea in the business world, we call it a pivot, right? It's just a change. Like if you were going to have, like you're going to go start a tech company, right? You come from a tech background. Well, there's a lot of things that aren't going to work. You're going to figure out better ways to do things. Do you give up and quit? No, you pivot. You change the plan to make it work for yourself.
Well, and even you're doing this presentation, writing a book, you know, me trying to put on this podcast.
Right.
I know there's a lot of people, and I've heard this before, where they say, well, the field's already crowded, or there's too many podcasts, or too many books, or what if I, and I mean, I feel like that's somebody's dragon, right?
Totally. It's a dragon. And,
and
I've experienced those kinds of things, right? I could never do this. I feel those dragons, right?
Yeah.
There's a million other people that are better writers than me, that are better speakers than me. I'm never going to be like Tony Robbins. Like, these are the dragons that I have to fight.
Can I tell you, every time you say Tony Robbins, I'm like, I'm ready to go, oh, stop, Woody, because I think you're about to say Tony Overbay. But I agree. Tony Robbins. I would tell like the Tony Robbins stuff too, so that's kind of funny.
I got a snort. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's
all right. I want the snort. Somebody's funny. I need a snortometer in the back. And,
awesome. The pivot.
Yeah.
So, but when you look at the sport, I'm a sports fan. Like when you look at the greatest coaches that I ever lived, I'm talking about, you know, the Vince Lombardis of the world, or the Bill Belichick's, modern day Bill Belichick. You know, I'm not a Patriots fan, but we all respect them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But how many times have the Patriots, right? They've come out, lose the first half, just getting their butts whooped.
Yeah. And
then come out the second half and win the game. It happened 2 years ago in the Super Bowl. It almost happened again this year, right? This last Super Bowl. Because Bill Belichick, he's a strategic planner. He makes a plan, he executes the plan, but more importantly, he knows when to adjust the plan.
Yeah.
And make changes.
I love that every non-Patriots fan right now is like, oh, they got Tom Brady.
Right. And they get all the calls.
But what he's playing, or your comments are valid, right?
Right.
Yeah, so
it's just they pivot.
Yeah.
The best strategic planners just know when to change the plan. And so when we make our plan to conquer our dragons, we have to change it. And I'll give you a good example.
Okay.
So like many Americans, right? I was super fit. I was an excellent runner, right? I was a sprinter in high school. I was a pretty good long distance runner.
Okay.
And I would go train with all the long distance runners before the sprinting season started and stuff like that. And I could eat whatever I wanted. It was amazing. I love food, right?
Yeah.
And then I gained 50, 60 pounds, right? Because like many Americans. So I've been fighting the obesity dragon for, the last, 12 years, 10 years, or whatever, how long it's been when I started gaining weight again. And I've been up this up and down roller coaster, right? I'll drop 30 pounds, drop 40 pounds, and gain it all back plus 10, whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like all the time, I've been through this cycle, this up and down cycle. And so I said, I got sick of it. And I said, okay, I'm going to create, this is my dragon right now. This is a big one. And I'm going to face this bad boy. And we're going to conquer this one. And so I came up with a plan. I gathered all of my tools and I got a group of guys together.
Okay.
Right. I needed the support, the accountability, right? We said, okay, we're going to exercise, but more importantly, we're going to stay away from junk food, like no sugar, right? Okay, we're going to stay away from that kind of stuff. So we came up with a plan, but then we came up with this consequence that if we did, we are going to have to pay $50 into a pot.
If you do what?
If we cheat.
Oh.
So
I almost offered you Reese's eggs when you walked in today.
I would have turned it down.
Good man.
Yeah. Anyways, $50 was pretty motivating to me. But I was in, the competitive juice to start to flow again. Right. And things are going great. I dropped 20 pounds, 25 pounds. And it was going really good. But this was kind of in October of last year. And then, the holidays hit and we just have guys just dropping off.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm done. I'm not going to pay any more money into this thing. I'm done. And then I started to slack off, right? I started to cheat a little bit and I started gaining a little bit more weight. I didn't go too crazy, but I love food. I'm addicted to food, right? To sugar and stuff. And so I had to be careful. And I said, okay, I need to pivot. I need to change my plan. And so what I did is I got with a different group of people.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we're going to hold ourselves accountable. We're not going to have the junk food. We're going to exercise regularly, but I changed my exercise program. I had a buddy who's a runner and he just said, and he's in his 40s now. And he just said, it's easier for me to train for something.
Yeah.
Like for the next 5K, the
Like
next 10K.
Yeah.
Like the next marathon.
Yeah.
And it's just easier for me to keep training. Like I can't train just to look good anymore. Like, I mean, that was good in the 20s. I just can't do it anymore. I said, okay, I'm going to do that. And so I take ATM machines, like we do special events. So I take ATM machines to Spartan races. I don't know if you know Spartan races. Yeah. They're, for those of you who don't know, they're obstacle course races. You get muddy and dirty. They're long and they're super fun and they're intense. I said, I'm going to start training that. So I read Joe DeCina's book, and I started training their training routes. And so this year I ran 2 races already.
Nice.
8-mile races. I'm taking all my family to Dodger Stadium in April. This in a couple weeks. And then I basically have one every month for like the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Right. Except I'm taking a break in the summer to run a marathon. Okay. Right.
Which marathon?
There's one in Salt Lake.
I've done that one a few times.
Yeah. So it looks fun, high elevation.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I'm just training for a purpose. But the point is that you have to pivot. And then the 4th thing I teach kids, or just any audience that's asked me to speak to them, is to take action. Like, you're never going to conquer your dragon unless you do something about it.
Yeah.
Like, it's never going to happen. If you want to be a millionaire, you have to take action. If you want to lose weight, you got to eat right and exercise. Mm-hmm. It's like never going to happen.
Yeah.
If you want to be a published author, you got to write the book and publish it. You have to write every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or consistently, at least. And so, like anything, action is the foundation to any kind of success. And we have to take action.
Do you find, well, talk to me a little bit about, you talk about finding your audience, right? And I think that's a great story too, because you've been chasing your passion for a long time, and you kind of find it, and then do you mind telling that story?
So that, the speaking world is really interesting, and there's a million speakers out there. Mm-hmm. And I would say that they're a lot better than me, right? In terms of experience and maybe even how they project. But I do have my talents with it, right? Mm-hmm. And I just want to be myself, and I want to make the audience laugh.
Yeah.
And anyways, every speaker that I've ever talked to, and I encourage people to find a mentor in anything that you want to do. If you want to be a therapist, find a mentor.
Yeah.
If you want to be a doctor, find a mentor. And I found a mentor, and every time he says, you have to find your niche. You have to find a niche. You can't speak to everyone yet. You have to start somewhere, and you have to find a niche.
Yeah.
And so he was a youth motivational speaker, but he focused primarily on middle schools. I mean, he spoke to other audiences as they came up, but he focused primarily on these middle schools. And I had written this program because I know like this middle school and high school age really well. I'm a coach, and I've worked with youth, for the last 15 years, really, since my whole married life. And I understand these youth really well, and I get along with them. And I thought that was going to be my niche.
Okay.
And I had created this whole presentation, this whole program, this keynote surrounding them. And I knew other audiences would benefit from this.
Sure.
But when I started speaking to them, it went great, but I didn't feel like this was exactly my niche.
Wait, do you remember what that was? Was it looking into the faces of the middle schoolers? Or
no, I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
They grasped the message.
Yeah.
They loved the message, but I just didn't feel like it was exactly my niche. Mm-hmm. I'm like, am I going to be, maybe just high school kids or just, and then I spoke to, I had friends. He said, well, hey, come speak to my company. This is what's going on. Your message can help.
Yeah.
And those things went great. Don't get me wrong. And they pay great, right? Corporate gigs and stuff. But I just didn't feel like it. And anyways, my mom, who's an educator, my stepmom's an educator, my wife's a teacher, right? They said, you should really look at this elementary school age.
Okay.
And I go, they're not going to get it.
Yeah.
They're not going to grasp the message. And I go, no way. Anyways, I was asked to come speak to a K-8. And I go, okay, well, I'm mainly middle school. And she said, well, okay, but I want you to speak to whole school. And I actually went back and forth with the principal on this. I said, no, I don't want to do this. Mm. And I said, and I had compromised with her. I said, okay, I'll take 5th graders and up. And then as there's a few months before I was going to have to do the gig. And I was thinking about it. And I emailed her back and I said, okay, you know what? Let's just invite. I just had this feeling, okay, let's invite the younger students.
Yeah.
She said, great. I cannot believe I cannot tell you how well that went. I was completely blown away.
Is there an energy? Is that what it was?
It was the energy, but their level of participation at these younger age. And I actually had filmed this one. I wanted to see how it went. I brought a production company in to film it. And I actually say they're sitting the group together, 3rd graders. I go, 3rd grade, you guys are killing it. I say this to the president. Yeah. They were blowing me away.
Yeah.
And how they grasped the message, how they answered and participated, how they answered questions, how they participated, how they asked questions. I could not believe it. I go, this is my niche. And my mentor was at this presentation, and he said, Woody, I have never seen this before. I go, what do you mean? He goes, at this age level, I have never seen somebody with a message like yours be able to reach the kids.
Okay.
And that was like huge for me. I was
Yeah.
like, well, like, he's just saying that.
Yeah.
He goes, and I'm telling you, I'm not just saying that. I'm thinking you need to start focusing on these guys.
Okay.
And I felt the same way. And so I found my niche.
That's your
after
lane,
almost 2 years.
Yeah.
Was this elementary, like this intermediate elementary school
Yeah.
age. I mean, these 3rd graders and 4th graders, and the parents who reached out to me afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's been, I think I did this in January, right? So it's been months. I just got another email from a mom that said,
nice.
hey, listen, and these are like, these are gold, right?
Yeah.
To speakers.
Yeah.
And this mom just said, hey, I want you to know that my kids loved your thing. And she had like a 7th grader or 6th grader, but also a 4th grader.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this 3rd and 4th and 5th grade, the responses from them, they're like, my kids came home, they told me everything about your presentation. They want to change their lives and make goals.
They're
And I'm
dragons.
like, are you kidding me? What have I been doing these last couple of years? And so I found my niche. And so now it's just, I'm trying primarily to focus on these elementary school age kids. You know, and a lot of the speakers who come in, I know you speak to younger audiences too, but a lot of the speakers who come into elementary schools are like the science guy, like the crazy science guys. They're great.
Yeah.
I enjoyed them as a kid, right?
Yeah.
Or like the animal guy who brings in the snakes and the reptiles and stuff, and those are great. But to actually have a message that the kids can grasp, and I want to reach them before they start believing what the world's going to tell them.
Yeah.
Like they're not good enough, and you're not good, and you don't have to do this. And they start believing these things, like this is the age I want to hit, before they start to believe it.
You know, and I brought you in here to interview you, but I have to tell you that we were talking a little bit before. I get to go speak at schools when, especially for 6 years, I ran around a track for 24 hours to raise money for schools. Yeah. And so I would go pump the kids up at the schools, and I felt like, you know, it wasn't necessarily tangible that they were going to walk away and say, oh, I can go run 125 miles in 24 hours. Right. But I loved the fact where it was, how many of you just want to start walking, or you know, a little bit of a walk and run, or get your parents to go on a walk with you. And some of them would get so excited, and I could tell that others, you could tell that that would be a challenge in their home, or they're hearing some negative message, or they don't think that their parent would do that with them. And so I love your message of everybody has dragons. And so how do you identify those? And you said earlier, what if the parents are the dragons? I mean,
people play very real dragons in our lives, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of dragons. There's that bully that can be the parent.
Yeah.
But there are other people they can turn to.
So I love bringing awareness to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, tangent. You ready for this one?
Sure.
So, do you ever run into, you know, here's where we go with literal, the word literal. You're in English, you know, you love English, right? So I love when people do, you know, there are literal dragons in my life, you know, and it's kind of not, right? I'm not aware of a real dragons.
Metaphorical
dragon. No, that's part of my one. Hey, so I asked you to bring your guitar, because no one has ever played an instrument on the Virtual Couch podcast.
I'm glad to be the first.
Right? Yeah, it's kind of exciting. So when you say that you incorporate music into your, you know, when you're kind of giving your presentations, how do you do this?
So I generally play just a couple of songs.
Okay.
Right? I play. Do you know who Mandy Harvey is?
No.
Okay, so Mandy Harvey is a musician. She has an amazing voice. She plays instruments. She's great. She showed up on our radar last year on America's Got Talent.
Oh, okay.
And she went really far in this competition. Okay. So I love that show.
Yeah.
Like we see these great stories, and they're really good about doing backstories on people. And I really love these stories. And so she came onto the show, and she crushed it, and she went really far into the competition, like 4th or 5th place or whatever. Okay. All the way to the end. But what makes her so much more amazing is the fact that she's deaf.
Oh, wow.
So when she was 18, she got sick, something with connective nerve endings or whatever, and she lost her hearing at 18.
Wow.
And so that's a pretty major dragon, you know, at any age to face. And we could all imagine what that might have been like for her. Someone who was musically gifted and played music her whole life and sang, and then to not be able to do that. Just that alone is pretty tough. But all of the other heartache and problems and the kind of things that come along with that kind of disability. And, you know, she has this quote that I share with the kids. Like I tell them their backstory. And she just said, when I lost my hearing, I wanted to give up.
Wow.
But I don't want to do that anymore. Yeah. Right. And so 10 years later, she figured out a way to play music. Wow. And it is amazing.
Okay.
So she doesn't wear her shoes when she's on stage, so she could feel the rhythm and the tempo of her bandmates.
Okay.
But then she used visual tuners. She would sing into a tuner, right? She can't hear it, so she would sing into a tuner and watch the needle until she was on pitch. And then she would use muscle memory to memorize, to remember that, what that felt like in her throat. She's the most amazing person in the world, right?
Yeah.
And so she wrote a song that she performed on America's Got Talent called Try. And it was about going through this, right? Like, don't give up. I'm not living how I want to, but the words are really, really pretty. And so I play this song for the kids, and I play another one too. But I'd like to share that.
You want to play Try? Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna play Try.
Should be good.
So Mandy Harvey.
And we're back. We're back. I was gonna say, I was telling Woody, I can cover this. I'll just say technical difficulties, but Woody in his vulnerable, authentic, real state said.
I forgot the words, and I'm just so nervous being with Tony or something, or maybe we're filming this. I don't know, but I went in 20 to sing the first verse, and I started singing the second verse. And I'm like, something's not right here.
You know what's funny? So I dig this stuff. So I absolutely love music, and I'm the guy that at church I would love to just close my eyes and soak in a hymn or a musical performance, but I worry that people are gonna assume I'm asleep, and so I don't know what to do with myself. And so when you started playing, I kind of just sit back and look, and you looked over at me at that point, and were you kind of communicating to me, hey, old man,
I need you to participate. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I don't know what it's
okay, all right. That was about when you were like, okay.
Something's wrong. Okay, here we go.
Here we go. All right.
Mandy Harvey, everyone. She's awesome.
Yep.
Thank you, Mandy Harvey. I don't feel the way I used to. The sky is green much more than it is blue. But I know one day I'll get through, and I'll take my place again. If I would try, if I would try, there is no one me to blame, 'cause I know the only thing in my way is me. I don't live the way I want. That whole picture never came into view. But I'm tired of getting used to the day. So I will try. So I will try. If I would try. If I would try.
Woo, okay, all right, okay. That was awesome. That really was. I'm digging those words.
Yeah, the verse is just, it's so perfect and so pretty.
Yeah.
And I encourage everybody to go watch Mandy's initial performance.
To it. I have to.
On America's Got Talent, she was awesome. I mean, she's deaf, and she played it on the ukulele. Mm-hmm. I just do it on the guitar, but it's amazing. And you got to watch the judges. They're like, what?
I love that. Can I tell you some random thoughts that went through that?
Yeah.
It was incredible. I also saw that I didn't know if you wanted me to move the words up. I didn't know if you had anywhere where I was going to make that move.
We're good.
But then when you went for it at one point, right? Did you know when you did that? You went after it. Everything. And there's an attorney office right next to the door. Yeah, and we're early today.
Yeah.
Woody's gracious enough to come in here early. But I was kind of laughing to myself. I wonder if I should have given him a heads up, So he's in there, some video deposition in the background. I can try. But I thought, what if that motivates him? Now he helps his client, and butterfly effect, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, on serious, music is so powerful.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's helped me personally on a really deep level.
Mhm.
But there's great music for every situation of our lives. There's great dance music. There's great spiritual stuff, gospel stuff, if you're into that.
Yeah.
You know, there's great music for everything. And I mean, just it's a tool. Use it to your advantage. I mean, it can help. Well, it blesses our lives.
A lot of people that I do find that are struggling, sometimes music's about the only thing that they feel like keeps them going at times, right? Yeah. Okay, so got to wrap up. What a pleasure. But I was thinking already, you found this niche. You've got this presentation in Conquer Your Dragons, and I love that concept. And you speak to schools. You do corporate gigs as well. But that passion is elementary school.
Yeah, like I was telling you, I found this niche, and I just want to reach these kids before they get to this point where they're not listening anymore.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of kids in high school that I reach. I know I reach them. Yeah. And there's even more that I'm not reaching. Yeah. Because they're just at this age where they've shut off.
Exactly. So you want to get in there early. So I was kind of sharing with Woody while we were kind of firing things back up. The podcast is viewed and listened to by a lot of people in a lot of places. So Have Guitar Will Travel?
Totally travel. I travel for your corporate events, for your schools, for your youth groups, whatever the situation is. If you feel it's appropriate to talk about conquering the dragons. I mean, there's a lot of dragons. I do, even for sales teams. Yeah. Like I conquer the dragons of a sales team, right? Yeah. The things that we first. I do stuff on teamwork, conquering those kinds of dragons. Because and the only reason I'm really speaking specifically to that because I was asked to. Okay. And I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of teams in my life, and most of the time they've been hugely successful, right? Yeah. Like these partnerships, these groups, and this teamwork. And then there are other times that they weren't, and everybody can relate to this.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's interesting. I read this fascinating study that Google did. I read the article came out of the Times magazine. I think it was like 2016. But Google did this fascinating 3-year study within their company of trying to figure out why some teams worked and some teams didn't. Yeah. And it was fascinating. And it just led me just to keep studying this topic. Okay, well, then I analyzed, what worked in the teams that I've worked with and what didn't. Yeah. And then I read this book called The Five Dysfunctions of a Team. And it's just this fascinating idea. So, I've actually presented to that because in the corporate world, this is a big deal.
So where do people find you?
So AdamFridayWoods.com, AdamFridayWoods.com, or ConquerYourDragons.com.
ConquerYourDragons.com. Book is going to be, you can find it at Amazon.
Website.
Your website, that sort of thing.
All of that.
Absolute pleasure.
It's been awesome. Thank you.
No, this is like you got a nice message. You got good energy. I feel like if I was on America's Got Talent, I think I'm hitting is it a gold buzzer? I'm passing you right on through.
Golden buzzer!
I just did it right there. Woody, thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks. Okay. It's been awesome. Thank you.